Hailed as one of global motorsport's most legendary venues, MotoGP roars into Le Mans for the 36th time for round 5 in 2024. A capacity crowd is buzzing with anticipation, and there's a cauldron atmosphere so loud it stops you in your tracks. Can anybody stop Jorge Martin after his pole and sprint win? It's time to race in MotoGP. So the iconic Le Mans circuit, just 5 kilometres outside of downtown Le Mans, 4.19 kilometres in length, 2.6 miles, 14 corners, 5 left, 9 of them right. Challenging stop and go layout this one, lots of hard braking zones, hard acceleration zones as well. You need a stable front end to master this Bugatti circuit over 27 laps, which is coming up very, very shortly. Sector 1 includes the high-speed sweep through turn 1, hard on the brakes, and into the Dunlop chicane, through La Chapelle and the Museum corner, down into turn 8, garage there, and the lap completed. Always high drama there in 13 and 14 through Recordemont. 8, 9 and 11 are the most harsh braking points around this Le Mans circuit, one of the hardest braking circuits on the Grand Prix calendar. And the biggest tyre stress over Michelin is through the first corner. So many overtaking hotspots around this compact stop-and-go layout. This was Marquez fighting Jorge Martin for the podium last year into the Dunlop chicane. Coming up next then in MotoGP. 28 points clear in the title chase. Jorge Martin looks to build a big lead heading to Barcelona. Top Gun Maverick Vinales shoots for a second 2024 win for Aprilia from 3rd on the grid. After another sprint setback, world champion Pecco Bagnaia is fully focused on a first French MotoGP win. And watch out, because Marc Marquez is about. Second in the sprint, the Spaniard looks to deliver more fireworks in France from row 5. So in the 13-lap Tissot sprint here yesterday, Marc Marquez made an electric start, fighting his way through from 13th to 2nd, through there early on a disastrous Saturday for world champion Pecco Bagnaia, who had problems from the warm-up lap, problems which saw him retire very early on. Successive sprint DNFs for the world champion as he goes in search of a first French Grand Prix victory. Pedro Acosta suffered a late scare. The rookie sensation, 6th place at the end of the sprint in front of Tech 3 Racing's home crowd here in France. But it was the Dream Dozen Tissot sprint win number 12 completed by Jorge Martin, and he retains complete control of the MotoGP World Championship in 2024. 13 consecutive sprint podiums now for the 26-year-old Spaniard. Sees him bring a 28-point lead in the championship coming into this 27-lap Michelin Grand Prix of France. All the drama will unfold in front of one of MotoGP's biggest ever crowds. Will it be a record crowd? It certainly has that feel to it. Last year, nearly 280,000 fans flocked to this motorsport mad part of France. And they've come back in their droves, they have come back in their tens of thousands to create arguably one of the most unique and electrifying atmospheres we get in the whole MotoGP World Championship calendar. Coolest conditions of the weekend so far. That will be a factor in terms of the Michelin tyre choice for the 27-lap race, which will be lights out in about 40 minutes' time, in the company of Matt Burton, Lewis Sotheby in the commentary box, with Simon Crafar down in pit lane and on the grid a little bit later on. The catalyst of Martin's 12th sprint win was a fantastic Friday in France, where he led both practice sessions, and it was a pretty good Saturday as well for the Pramac Racing star, as he took pole position with the one and only sub 130 lap we've ever seen around this Bugatti circuit. What a milestone, what a moment, what a lap that was by the Martinator. And that is a sight to behold. Packed grandstands here in Le Mans as they get set to see if Marco Bezzecchi can make it back-to-back wins after his triumph in the 1000th Grand Prix here last year. So many elements to keep an eye on in this race coming your way, not least because, of course, Gresini Racing's Marc Marquez fires his way from the 5th row of the grid. 13th he started the sprint yesterday. An astonishing first lap saw the 31-year-old Spaniard recover 9 places on the first lap alone. He was up into 4th place, and the double on lap penalty for Aleix Espargaro, the late crash of Marco Bezzecchi, saw him take 2nd place. Marquez limbering up, getting himself warmed up, getting himself pumped up for what he hopes will be an end to this winless streak in the MotoGP World Championship, which is now well north of 900 days, to be precise, 931 days since Marc Marquez last triumphed on a Sunday Grand Prix. I suppose it's kind of fitting really, 931 days. He's the number 93, he'd love to be in P1. There'll be a bit of a play on numbers maybe there from Gresini Racing, but Lewis, he does have an awful lot of work to do coming from 13th on the grid. It's one thing to do it in the short, sharp sprint. It's a totally different ball game this afternoon.
Yeah, I was about to say, flip the 31 around in those 931 and you find the position that Marc Marquez starts from for this French Grand Prix. He produced some heroics yesterday, as you say, to come through to 2nd place. A little bit of good fortune too, of course, with Marco Bezzecchi crashing out ahead of him, but this was the foundation of Marc Marquez's charge through the field, gaining those 11 places in the Tito sprint. This start that Marc Marquez was able to put together yesterday, just wait until you see it from the onboard. It's like a video game. You'll see Pecco Bagnaia going backwards through the field there. We'll talk more about him as we get through the pre-race build-up. But Marquez managing to pick the perfect line through turn 2, around the outside into turn number 3. That's Jack Miller on his left-hand side. And he emerged out of those first 4 corners in 6th place. He would complete that first lap up in 4th.
Like a video game on beginner mode, wasn't it? This by Marc Marquez. Made light work of this early charge, as we mentioned. Braved it around the outside going into the Dunlop chicane, and at the end of this first lap he was already up into 4th place. It wasn't just the fact that he was super impressed with his own start. Marc Marquez said yesterday it was a combination of concentration, luck, risk and instinct. What made him happier though was the fact that he had some serious pace. From lap 1 onwards, he was hunting down Marco Bezzecchi, pressured the Italian into a mistake when he was 2nd. Look what it meant to Marquez as he crossed the line for his 3rd 2nd place in the sprint in the last 4 Grand Prix. Of course, the grandstands packed full of Fabio Quartararo and Johann Zarco fans, but there's a fair few Marc Marquez fans here as well, and a growing army of Pedro Acosta supporters as well in Tech 3's home Grand Prix. Speaking of Fabio Quartararo, an excellent qualifying, put him 8th on the grid. He's going to get incredible support here this afternoon. Wait until we hear Le Marseillaise, the French national anthem, ring out pre-race. It really does make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. What are the thoughts pre-race, though, of Fabio's team manager, Monster Energy Yamaha boss Maio Meregali? He joins Simon down in pit lane.
He does. Always good to hear the thoughts of Maio Meregali. Your star rider, I know you've got 2, but this weekend, especially Fabio, home race. I'd love your thoughts going into this one, please, Maio.
Well, he already did something incredible, and yeah, unfortunately we are not now in the situation to give him something better, but we are really pushing hard to try to maximize what we have, and he did a fantastic time attack yesterday. During the sprint race, he could not really enjoy the low level of the grip we had, because the temperature really rise up, and we were really missing the grip. For today, anyway, the track temp is lower, and we really hope that first it will stay dry, because he might start raining in the last part of the race. And let's see, we also did some tweaks to the setups last night, and he liked this morning. So we are just decide to keep it as it was this morning, also to gather information. But now it will be crucial to have a good start, and then let's see.
Can you give us a few words on Alex Rins at the same time?
Yeah, yesterday he did a good lap time because his best lap was the same as Fabio. Then he had a really strange crash because he didn't get any warning. He just lost the front. It was not because of the R tire, because everyone used it. And this morning he also tried something different, but then he didn't like. He came back as yesterday with some electronics change. Let's see, you know, starting from the back is not easy. We know that he's capable of a good start. So now it's everything in their mind, their hands.
Last question for you. You mentioned that rain that may come. So I imagine most riders will start this, you know, with teams preparing a dry bike for the beginning and a wet setup for the other bike, or?
Yeah, actually we have 1 and 1 because Alex side prefer to have already the second bike ready in case we start raining very soon. In Fabio's corner they decide to wait after the first 3 laps and then get change. So far the information we receive should start raining in the last part. So better, I don't know, we are prepared in a different way, but I just really hoping that it won't start raining.
Mayo, you're a top man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Maio Meregali. Let's hope that Maio Meregali and Yamaha's weather forecasting systems are wrong. I've just had another quick look at mine. 25% chance of rain at 4 p.m. local time, which of course will be when the MotoGP race will be finished, as we follow Jorge Martin, the big stand-up wheelie over the finish line as he makes it 12 sprint wins. What a record that is, 24 sprints, a 50% winning record for the Martinator, who did it from his 15th MotoGP pole position. And he's making it, you have to say, almost impossible for Ducati to say no to him in that race for the seat alongside Pecco Bagnaia in the World Championship. A race which some people think this man will win. Marquez then, 13th on the grid. Yesterday, Marquez only the 4th sprint podium that came from out of the top 10 on the grid. Brad Binder did it 15th to 1st in Termas, and Jorge Martin 12th to 3rd in Texas last year, and also Martin 12th to 3rd at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, sporting a very distinctive and I've got to say a very cool home race livery is Fabio Quartararo. He fancies himself as a bit of a fashion and style icon, doesn't he? If you follow Fabio on social media, you'll know he's not scared to make a few interesting wardrobe choices, but yeah, love that, really, really nice.
Yes, and it has the word savage written across the front winglets of that Yamaha. There you can see it right on cue on the right hand side of your screen. Savage, I think, pretty accurately describes the area of the grid that Fabio Quartararo is starting from on that 3rd row. If he finishes anywhere near where he's starting, he will have done those home fans, of which there are thousands upon thousands of them, very proud indeed.
Yesterday, for only the 3rd time in the sprint era, Raul Fernandez found himself in the point scoring places, and he was close to getting into Q2 as well, actually. So it's been a strong weekend for the former Moto2 winner here in Le Mans. Miguel Oliveira also just outside the points yesterday. What are the pre-race thoughts on Trackhouse Racing's prospects of a potential double top 10? Well, Simon's with the man to know. He's with Davide Brivio, the team boss.
I am, Davide. It's so good to see you back, this time with Trackhouse Racing and factory Aprilias in your garage. Tell us your thoughts on today and how the weekend's going so far in general.
Yeah, not so bad. Yesterday the sprint race was good for Raul. He was able to recover places, but especially to keep the pace with the guys in front. He was struggling a little bit with the front tire during the race, but he could catch up in terms of pace. So he couldn't attack, but he could stay. So that's positive. Also Miguel, he was, I think, much closer to what you might look. So we're going. This morning was a little bit tricky because the temperature was quite low and the feeling was a little bit different for Raul. and also Miguel didn't feel the same. So we have a little doubt about,
because the temperature's low now as well.
But now the temperature is going up. But then somebody say it might be raining by the end of the race or not. So anyway, no, we went back what we had yesterday. Some small adjustment on electronic, probably with Raul, and then let's see. We are in a, let's say, not in a great shape, in a good shape. We try to do the best we can.
And a couple of words on the team. You know, you've been here only so many races, not a lot, and things you must be starting to put your changes into effect. How's it going?
Yeah, for us as a Trackhouse is a kind of a learning here. We are Trackhouse is a racing company. The DNA is racing, but just Trackhouse is the first time involved in a MotoGP. So we are exchanging continuously idea and feelings and opinion. So we are studying, we learning, and then we will make some plan for next year what we can improve. The team is an experienced team. They come from few years. All the guys have been here for a long time, so it's a good team. We need to, but as everything, you can improve everything. So never stop to think. So especially us. So we have to think what we can improve, how we can make maybe a further step, and so this is what we probably will try to put in place for next year.
Davide, thank you for your time. Good luck today and in the future.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. And to Davide's point regarding the weather, that's the second team manager now we've had speculating that we could have some rain late in the Grand Prix. We did see some flag-to-flag bike prep earlier on in the morning warm-up. Marquez, actually, the only rider we saw scrubbing in some rain tyres in the warm-up session in anticipation of those clouds coming towards us and depositing some rain on us later on.
Dark clouds looming large over the French Grand Prix here at the Bugatti circuit in Le Mans. We really do keep everything crossed that we're not going to get a disruption. What was it in Le Mans here, 2021? There was a flag-to-flag encounter, which was
right
eventually
won, the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, by Jack Miller. What was that most recent flag-to-flag? It would have been Motegi, wouldn't it, last year? Yeah. Which was, well, that turned into an absolute downpour, didn't it, in Japan. Maverick Vinales, his race day here in Le Mans did not get off to the best of starts because Batmav was on the floor at turn 4 in the warm-up session this morning, just experimenting with some different lines, which clearly didn't work to his benefit. That said, though, Vinales has been one of the few riders to take it to the Ducatis here in Le Mans this weekend. He was third on the grid. He was third at the end of that sprint yesterday. Aleix Espargaro, actually, to his credit as well, was superb in that sprint. A double long lap penalty for a jump start, still came through to a top 5. So there must be high expectations of a double podium fight this afternoon for the Aprilia crew. Let's get a word from the boss, Massimo Rivola, who joins Simon.
He does. Massimo, it looks to me that the Ducatis and the Aprilias are the bikes to be on this weekend here at Le Mans. And both of your riders looking competitive. It didn't go to plan yesterday, I know, especially with Aleix, the jump start, but he looked so strong on the other side of the garage. Mavericks looked strong all weekend and spoke of tyre temperature. How do you feel you're prepared for this longer race?
I would say that Maverick yesterday was not super strong. He suffered a lot of the rear grip, especially on the right. Maybe it was just something that was not perfect, but yeah, we think we are quite competitive. I'm just feeling now the wind is completely changed, so all the reference of the braking point for the rider are completely different, but it's the same for everybody. So the one that will adapt much quickly will get the benefit. But I'm already scared about going to turn 1 with the wind on the tail. With the braking point so different, wow, it's gonna be a funny race, I tell you.
Very, very good point, and wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Massimo Rivola. There are the Bastianini fan club out in force, surrounding a pocket of Fabio Quartararo fans, and Ea Bastianini up into second in the World Championship yesterday after a 4th place in the sprint. In every sprint and Grand Prix so far, the Beast has seen the checker flag. He's been inside the top 6 to his credit. Feels like the advances he made yesterday with the front performance of the Ducati ultimately overtaking. This was Aleix Espargaro's jump start yesterday. Just look at that, moving ever so slightly. the new clutch on the Aprilia RSGP this year, Aleix Spargo, has sort of thrown him a bit of a curveball. He's trying to judge the biting point. He said yesterday to the media, he's almost jump-started in every sprint and Grand Prix so far this year. Finally, he was caught out yesterday. Although, Lewis, you have to say, his recovery was pretty impressive, because to rescue a top 5 in a 13-lap sprint when you've had 2 long laps is some going from the 34-year-old.
Yeah, it probably cost him the best part of 5 seconds, those 2 long lap penalties, which would have put him somewhere very close to Marc Marquez at the end of the Tissot sprint. Had he not had to serve those 2 long lap penalties, it just shows you once again these super fine margins. We're talking a matter of millimeters that front tyre was moving, but it was moving when the red lights went out, and Aleix Spargo paid the penalty and paid it in full. Maverick Vinales, as mentioned, overheating rear tyre for him, which put paid to any hopes he had of challenging for victory in the sprint. Still came home in 3rd place to keep up his very strong sprint record so far this season. A podium now to match his 2 wins that he took in Portimao and Austin. Vinales is one of 6 riders who are playing catch-up to Jorge Martin. The next 5 immediately behind Martin: Bastianini, Bagnaia, Acosta, Vinales and Marc Marquez, all covered by just 7 points.
Nothing against Michelin's rain tyres, because we know how well they perform, but I don't want to see them, thankfully, at this 27-lap Michelin Grand Prix of France. Yesterday, of course, in the hottest conditions of the weekend for the sprint, it was 26 degrees ambient temperature, proper scorcher in France's Sarthe region yesterday. Everybody was on the hard front, well, apart from Jack Miller and the soft rear tyre. It is a lot cooler here this afternoon, sort of 5, 6, 7 degrees cooler potentially for the start of this French Grand Prix, and that will be something that the teams have to factor in. And as Massimo Rivola said as well, the change in the wind, a tailwind now pushing the riders up into the first corner, could get a little bit sketchy, because that is a proper scary part of this Bugatti circuit. When questions have been asked previously of Pecco Bagnaia, he's always tended to come up with the answers and big responses after setbacks. Well, he needs another one here today. Out of the sprint in Jerez, and then came back to win a classic, a race for the ages in front of the Jerez fans, to deny Marc Marquez that elusive first sprint for Gresini Racing. Well, Lewis, it's all on the shoulders again of Bagnaia to show that he can quickly turn the page of a damaged book.
Well, rather than answering questions, he was asking plenty yesterday, wasn't he? After the sprint went so badly wrong for Bagnaia, well, we say from the moment the lights went out, he'd actually gone wrong before then. He recognised even before he pulled up into 2nd place on the grid that there was something wrong with his number 2 Ducati bike. As you can see there, he hasn't lost an engine. No engines have been withdrawn from that allocation after his crash in qualifying 2, which left him on his spare bike for the sprint, which just did not work. Ducati keeping very tight-lipped about what happened to that number 1 yesterday, but whatever it was, it forced him to retire and score no points. He's just scored 2 points in the last 3 Tissot sprints. By contrast, Jorge Martin, the rider here we're looking at on screen, he scored 31.
Martin, though, was at pains yesterday to point out that, yes, so far so good, perfect weekend for the Spanish rider, but he knows it's Sundays when the big points come on the table. That's the big paydays, and he's only got 1 Grand Prix victory, Martin, since Buriram, that classic battle he had with Pecco Bagnaia and Brad Binder towards the tail end of last season. South African fans, unfortunately, it's not been the weekend that you were hoping for your superstar rider, because Brad Binder was 15th at the end of the sprint yesterday. 4 successive sprints now that Binder has missed out on the points. When you think he only missed points in 3 of 19 sprints through the whole of last season. He starts, unfortunately, from the back of the grid after a very problematic weekend. 3 crashes alone on Friday. Tech problems with his number 1 bike in qualifying yesterday. It means for only the 3rd time in 77 MotoGP appearances, Binder has qualified outside of the top 20. Although, I suppose he did win a Moto3 race once from the back of the grid in Jerez, but this does feel like a slightly different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and as we saw yesterday, he made up so much progress on the first lap and then really made no more from that point on. Shouldn't be qualifying down that far back on the grid. There were contributing factors to that. on Saturday morning, but even without that, it's not necessarily been the best of weekends in terms of pure pace for Brad Binder. Right then, can Pecco Bagnaia right the wrongs of the Saturday sprint? Can Bastianini come through from 10th on the grid and take back-to-back French Grand Prix wins? Because of course he didn't come here last year. Let's get pre-race thoughts from Davide Tardozzi, who joins Simon.
He does. Davide, really looking forward to your thoughts, because we know how Pecco comes out no matter what happens on a Saturday. He comes out fighting on a Sunday, and how fast he is. And your other rider, Bagnaia, looking at what he did yesterday, if he gets the start, he's one of the fastest riders on the grid. What are your hopes?
Both riders are really fast, and it's a shame what it happened yesterday to Pecco, while Bagnaia shows on the sprint a second very fast part of the race. So if he have a good start today, he's one of the guys that can fight for the podium.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi as we run through the grid. Well, only one deviation in the entire 22-rider field, despite these slightly cooler conditions. Everybody, bar Augusto Fernandez, who's clearly rolling the dice over the full race distance here today, has gone once again for the hard front, soft rear tyre. As we mentioned, Le Mans probably with Red Bull Ring, Motegi and Buriram, it's got the most severe braking zones on the entire World Championship calendar, so you do need the hard compound rubber underneath you for the braking stability and the braking support. So Augusto Fernandez, as it stands right now, the only rider that's gone for the soft front tyre. Not an easy weekend to say the least, has it been for Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, with Brad Binder's woes on Friday and Saturday. No points in the sprint for him. Jack Miller, though, was 8th in the sprint yesterday, and he led the French Grand Prix here last year on the factory KTM. What are the thoughts of their team manager, Francesco Guidotti, who's with Simon?
Francesco, it's pretty obvious things haven't gone to like you would hope, you know, this French GP so far, but now's the, you know, where it really counts, the most points. Please give us your thoughts.
Jack is doing well. I mean, also qualifying and sprint race was fighting for in the leading group, and then of course the start here is always a little bit tricky at the first chicane. He was third out of the chicane, was 7th. So yeah, let's see the start, and then 25 laps is quite a lot to manage. And yeah, Brad starting from the last spot, it will be tough. But he knows fighter. He strongly believes in the bike. The feeling is good, and he's there by chance, not because he deserves to be there.
One more question, and that is about Brad. It hasn't gone to plan a lot, and we were wondering, is he comfortable? You're saying you've found something setting-wise, or?
Nah, I mean, yesterday in Q1, he missed the first run for a little bike issue, so he didn't perform any lap. And the second run was every time he tried to do his best lap was yellow flag, and that's it. I mean, we know once more how difficult it is to perform at this level if you are not perfect.
So he has the pace for today, you think, race pace-wise?
I mean, the pace is there. He showed also this morning a very good pace, but starting from the back, and we have to see how he can manage the front tire pressure also. That is it's an issue for everyone, but especially starting from the back. So it will be a long one.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Just coming to speak to Johann Zarco, the home crowd hero. Well, he was a proper superstar on four wheels. Multiple World Rally Champion. Sebastian Loeb, 9 times World Rally Champion to be precise. He is a star of French motorsport, isn't he? Absolutely. As the Zarco fans, well, they might not be witnessing a repeat of his podium here last year, of course. Zarco's first ever MotoGP podium was right here in front of his home crowd in Le Mans in 2017, but it's not stopped them making a right old racket here this weekend. Zarco was heaping praise yesterday on the fans for just saying, yeah, they're really lifting him in this challenging time right now he faces at LCR Honda Castrol. He's been the top Honda rider throughout this weekend. Let's hope that Zarco can maybe fight for the top 10. He believed was in his hands Prix weekend. Marco Bezzecchi then, it was a wasted opportunity yesterday, running a pretty comfortable second place when he fell off late on in the sprint. Fabio Di Gianantonio took the checkered flag 7th. They go from 4th and 5th on the grid respectively. Can Bez make it the double here in Le Mans after his brilliant ride here last year? Let's get some thoughts from Pertamina Enduro VR46 Racing team boss Pablo Nieto.
Pablo, just making last plans for this big race. Tell us your thoughts on both your riders. DG's looked strong recently, and yesterday Bez looked wonderful until that mistake. What are you expecting from them today?
Yeah, yesterday was not so good the race, but anyway, today is completely different race. I'm a little bit worried about the temperature, because in this front tire with the hard one, maybe in the left corners you have to be a little bit careful about that, because it's 1 second that you can lose the front. So I think that point is going to be really, really important for us, because also we saw it with Marco yesterday, he lost the front in that part of the race. But anyway, completely another race. I think we can make a good race, and then we will see.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Simon, thanks to Pablo Nieto. Yeah, the sprint crash at turn 9 yesterday, that means that 25-year-old Marco Bezzecchi is still without a point so far in the sprints this season. On the box though for the first time in the Grand Prix this year in Jerez. Last time out he was sort of trying to stick his nose in that epic fight, wasn't he, between Bagnaia and Marquez. As Jorge Martin then looking relaxed, isn't he? Looking pretty cool as he comes to pole position for the 25th time, or 25th front row I should say, in the MotoGP World Championship. Yesterday was Jorge's 36th career pole position. Winner of the Portimao Grand Prix. His life made a little bit easier late on there, wasn't it, when Maverick Vinales had the gearbox problem. The right on cue there is Batmav, out in that somewhat controversial clash with Pecco Bagnaia last year when they were fighting for the podium early on. His first MotoGP podium came here in 2016, which was Suzuki's first top 3 in 8 years since Brno in 2008.
And a brilliant mechanic there, hurriedly running onto the grid, I noticed there, just running past Maverick Vinales, so don't know whether he or Aleix Espargaro has made a late change of heart. Let's head back down to the grid then and get a word from the Prima Pramac cam. Jorge Martin starts from pole position, Frankie Morbidelli from 9th, Gino Borsois with Simon.
Yes, he is, and Gino, all weekend Jorge's looked fantastic. We know how strong he is in the sprints. Now it's the long race. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's unbelievable start of the season, not just yesterday. Of course, he did an amazing qualifying, amazing race yesterday, but today is another story. Temperature is different. We have a lot of wind on the back. We have to be master on the front pressure, because as everybody knows, if you are in front with a different temperature compared to yesterday, everything can happen. So if you make any mistake on the front pressure, so you throw away at the race. So let's see, we are studying right now which is the best pressure to start, and then it's up to them. The balance with the bike is perfect. He was so happy about everything during the weekend, so let's see.
Thank you, Gino. We wish you luck.
Yeah, thanks Simon, thanks to Gino Borsois. Of course, it was Jorge Martin who was leading that Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Bagnaia and Marquez when he crashed in the Dani Pedrosa corner. He has, well, when he's seen a checkered flag so far this season, Martin, he's not finished lower than 4th place. He really has added some consistency to his undoubted speed, his blistering speed. There's Babendum, the Michelin man at the front of the grid. Good reason why he's here, of course. Michelin's home Grand Prix. They are the title sponsors, the Michelin Grand Prix of France coming your way. Very, very shortly we're going to be hearing the local announcer here, who's so good at whipping the crowd up into a frenzy as we get set for what is always a stirring, rousing rendition of La Marseillaise, as over 100,000 French fans stand up and belt out one of the best national anthems that we hear all year, to be perfectly honest. Fabio Di Gianantonio just having a little chat to himself here, isn't he? Getting himself in the zone, getting himself focused and fired up for this French Grand Prix. Digia goes from 4th place on the grid What lies in store then for the home crowd hero, Fabio Quartararo? His merchandise has been doing more than brisk business. I think some of Fabio's merchandise was sold out on Thursday. It's been very, very hard to get Fabio merchandise, incredibly hard to get a ticket for this French Grand Prix because it's been sold out for months. Fans, young and old, enjoying the pre-race build-up. As we are going to get set very, very shortly to pause. There is Babendum, there is the French national flag. Dignitaries are gathered ready for the traditional pre-race ceremony. The announcer is getting the crowd ready for this very, very special moment. In about 30 seconds time we'll hear La Marseillaise ring out, so we will now take a pause. If that does not stir your emotions, if that does not send a tingle down your spine, well, nothing will. Another unbelievable rendition of La Marseillaise here in front of a capacity crowd ahead of this Michelin Grand Prix of France. And here you go, you have done it again, French fans. You've set the record last year, but you've broken it once again. 297,471 fans have joined us this weekend, a new all-time lap record. Merci beaucoup, Le Mans. Thank you very much for your incredible support. The next challenge, let's try and beat 300,000, shall we, next year. But that just shows what an incredible, unmissable event this French Grand Prix is. Let's quickly go down onto the grid. Simon Crafar stood next to Marc Marquez and his team boss, Michele Massini.
Yes, I am, and I couldn't believe what Marc did on the first lap yesterday, which teed up the possibility for him to get that awesome podium. And also, Alex, I would love to hear from you about both riders going into this longer race.
Well, for sure, I hope that Marc today and also Alex today reply a very good start, like the awesome start of yesterday. Today will be different condition with the tire temperatures and tire pressure, but we will see. So for sure, the key is if in the first 2-3 laps to overtaking some riders.
Just one question before I let you go. The extra logo on the fairing saying 1000 and on your shirts. Tell us about that.
Yeah, today was a milestone for Gresini Racing that today with the MotoGP race start, it counts 1000 GP in our history since 1997 with the first GP in 500cc with Alex Barros, counting all the classes that Gresini Racing taking parts. And today is our 1000 GP, and I hope that we will make some brilliant result to honor this.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good luck today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Some milestones, some proud record that for the Gresini Racing team. Of course, the 2022 French Grand Prix winners here. What a brilliant job before his untimely death 2 or 3 years ago. consequences of COVID-19 that Fausto Gresini did in Moto3, Moto2 and in MotoGP. His legacy lives on. So you almost feel that this being the 1000th Grand Prix for the team, it's almost written in the stars,
yeah.
isn't it, that Marc Marquez may well come through to that victory.
Let's head down to the grid then. Of course, not just one Frenchman on the grid, there are two. Johan Zarco also carrying some home support. Let's hear from his team boss, Lucio Cecchinello and Simon.
Yes, and we've just been hearing about Gresini's 1000th GP, and you can't be far off that, because you've been around a long time yourself riding, and all the way through to home GP today for one of your riders. Johan Zarco, tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, congratulations for Gresini. Gresini team is a fantastic history. 1000 GP, there are a lot. I think, yes, we have to update our accounting, because I think we are not so far. However, we feel extraordinarily well to be here in this crowd, this public, this magnificent circuit, and yeah, let's see what the race will bring.
And tell us, you know, like I said, home race for Johan Zarco, how he's feeling, what he wants to do today. Also, tricky conditions may come, and that may play into his hands.
Well, you know, the tricky condition with the weather, with some possible shower rain, can potentially, you know, mess up a little bit the race on a positive way, but as well on a negative way. Let's see. He know that from our side we are ready with already with the second bike fully set up on the wet. He can come in anytime. We just said to him, we reminded to him that as far he can lapping within 10 seconds with this best lap, I mean, and up to 1 minute 42, it's better to keep going with the slick tire, because normally, as you know, with the rain tire, in the best situation you are lapping 10 seconds lower.
Thank you, great point, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Lucio Cecchinello. Just listen to the noise, feel the noise here at the French Grand Prix in Le Mans. You do get the sense that this is going to be a special 27-lap Grand Prix of France. 5 minutes to race start. The 3-minute board goes up at the front of the grid. Martin, Bagnaia on the front row next to each other. Alongside them, Maverick Vinales. Pedro Acosta was fastest in this morning's warm-up session. He is not lacking home support in what he now calls his second home Grand Prix after Jerez, because of course he's riding for the Tech 3 racing team in the colours of Red Bull Gas. Maverick Vinales then took Yamaha's 500th Grand Prix victory here back in 2017. He leads the Aprilia charge from third place on the grid. Looking to bounce back from another sprint setback, Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion, he goes in the middle of the front row in second place. But after a mind-blowing, mesmerising sub-130 lap to take pole position here yesterday, can Jorge Martin make it the dream treble here in Le Mans?